Okay, good day. This is Sir Arca, and this is going to be the discussion for requirements modeling. This is in accordance with the second part of the system planning phase number two. Okay, so the focus of the discussion will be about systems analysis phase and overview, which is what we did actually before. No, so part pa rin naman kasi siya nung lecture. So second part na to. Systems requirements checklist, fact-finding techniques, and documentation. So, meron tayong mga diagram na i-explain mamaya kung paano natin siya ginagawa. Okay, systems analysis phase overview. The systems analysis phase includes four activities: requirements modeling, data and process modeling, object modeling, and the transition to systems design. So, remember, the system has five components that needs to be monitored or checked. So, the requirements are the output, the input, the processes, performance, and controls. Okay, so typical examples of systems requirements are outputs. The website must report online volume statistics every 4 hours and hourly during peak periods. So, ano nga ba yung mga pwedeng ilabas ng design ng system ninyo? Ano ba yung pwede mong makita? So, systems are designed to be able to enhance the capability of people in terms of transactions. So, ibig sabihin, uh, yung mga yon, yung mga output like transactions or different functions, ang nangyayari is they are the supposedly the reason kung bakit tayo naglalagay ng mga information system. So, 'di ba ang IS ay isang solusyon sa mga problema ng mga kliyente, but they do need to have output. It's not just computerizing the process but also by better providing better services, no? Kasama 'yun doon. And may mga output tong mga to. So, aside from just providing computerized transactions, pwede naglalabas din sila ng reports na nagbibigay ng information about the project or the system. So inputs, a data entry person at the medical group must input patient services into the billing system. There will be times that the system will need data, no? So there is what we call the information life cycle, wherein data or information that will be used for the system needs to be determined kung kailan pumapasok yung data. Kasi dapat sinasagot niya yung mga tanong na what is the data needed, where is the data inputted, how was the data added or retrieved, and why. Bakit niya nilalagay yung data doon sa loob ng system? Ano ba yung reason kung bakit? So you need to find out if all of these things or informations are needed or not. Simply because hindi naman lahat ng information na pwedeng naka-refer doon sa target mo is needed. May mga bagay na dapat i-exclude. And then, there are also datas na kailangan o requirement. So for example, pag reservation, kailangan alam mo kung kailan yung start time kaka end time ng reservation ng pools, ng rooms, or let's say venues. Kasi kailangan malaman kung kailan matatapos at syempre kailangan malaman kung magkano yung babayaran. So these inputs are informations that are needed. So requirement siya. So kaya nga pag meron tayong mga form, meron tayong mga nakalagay doon na required fields na naka-represent ng asterisk to be able to determine na ito yung mga information na kinakailangan para doon sa system. Okay? So hindi magpo-push through dapat yung mga transactions kung wala yun. Next is processes. What are the different functions that will be computerized? So remember, meron tayong tinatawag na scope and limitation pagdating sa mga system. So yung mga scope and limitation, scopes, these are the functions that can be computerized and will be done. So remember, ang bawat isang klase ng system, pag inanalyze natin, hindi naman immediate na lahat na lang ng bagay ko computerize natin. Siyempre, tinatansya rin natin kung ano lang yung pwedeng isama. Okay? So, ano ba yung mga function na ginagawa dun sa proseso ng transaction na pwede natin gawing computerized? Okay? So, the human resources system must interface properly with the existing payroll system. Ibig sabihin, kailangan mag-match. Syempre, alam naman natin, people are, you know, they are aloof in terms of changes. Ibig sabihin, hindi naman lahat ng tao ma-accept yung mga pagbabago na pwedeng mangyari. And at this case, some people may reject the idea that a new system will be implemented simply because that's not how they do things. So remember, you must be able to design this as user-friendly as possible because the processes involves these users, yung mga gagamit yan. The performance, the system must be operational 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So when we talk about performance, how will the system interact with the daily use? So karamihan may mga system tools tayo na nagde-detect ng mga performance capabilities ng mga computer, such as hanggang kailan siya kayang tumakbo, may mga lifespan yung mga yan. Yung connection, tinetest din yan bago siya gamitin. So you must be able to determine paano ba gagamitin yung system. So ibig sabihin, at least marirealize mo kung gaano ka magiging ka-stressed yung system pagdating sa performance kasi baka mamaya magkaroon ng system failure, di ba? So that could be a factor to be considered. Controls. The system must provide log-on security at the operating system level and at the application level. You have users. You need to determine those users who they are. There are some users that may need to be added. There's some users that may be removed. Pero in the long run, you will need to have a certain list of users at kung ano yung kaya nilang gawin sa system. Kasi may mga limitation yan. Although the system can be defined as a whole, there are specialized functions for each users. Kasi may mga kanya-kanya silang transaction at kaya natin sila nilagay doon. May yung mga function na yon, sila lang yung pwedeng gumawa. Pwedeng assign yon kasi yun yung trabaho nila. So hindi pwedeng lahat ng user pwedeng gamitin yung system. So for example, let's say yung cashier sa isang grocery, siya lang yung pwedeng mag-process ng mga binibili, no? And then at the same time, iba rin naman yung mga clerk sa inventory na sila naman yung pwedeng mag-receive ng mga incoming na supplies. Si manager lang yung o kaya si head or si team leader or yung mga higher position, sila lang yung pwedeng mag-void ng transactions. They have their own set of functions that they need to attend to kapag ginagamit na yung system, syempre. So we need to understand hanggang saan ba yung kakayanan ng mga users na to? What are their functions? Who, what, when, where, and how. Okay? So these are some of the different questions that you need to ask the client. So kapag ikaw ay gumagawa ng isang information systems, you need to understand not just the history of the company, but what happens within these transactions. You need to be very analytical, very very curious dapat yung dating mo. Okay? Dapat madami kang tanong that refers to the transaction. So example natin dito, who performs each of the procedures within the system? So yung mga users, ano yung mga function nila? What is being done? Where are operations being performed? When is a procedure performed? How is a procedure performed? So these very intricate and defined processes, dapat malaman mo kung paano siya ginagawa. How will you process cancellations? How you will process orders? How will you process payment? What are the complications that may occur? Dapat kapag gumagawa ka ng design sa isang information system, dapat meron kang scenario mga binibuild. Like, what happens if this thing happens to the system? What if there is a confusion about the system's process? What if this happens and you need the system to be flexible kasi kailangan niyang ma-address yung issue na yun. So, fact finding is really important. Pero dapat you need not to just ask the basic questions, but you need to also ask what are these questions leading to? Para saan? ano ba yung ginagawa niya sa proseso. Kasi usually, ang nangyayari dyan sa mga students, pag pumupunta sila sa kliyente, nagtatanong lang sila about the history. And that's it. Wala nang ibang kasunod. Minsan, nahihiyang magtanong. So, ang nangyayari, very little information comes out. So, kapag pine-present na yung system na dinidesign, certain situations arises. And these questions are binded with these situations. No? The more na hindi ka makakasagot sa mga itatanong sa'yo about a certain procedure na hindi mo kabisado, then that could be a problem. Remember, usually, yung mga panelists na yan, marami silang experience sa ganitong klase ng mga sistema. That is the reason kung bakit sila kinukuha. So, pag pine-present mo to, then you expect that there will be certain questions that always pertains to the specific functions na meron doon sa system. So basically, you're asking who, what, where, when, and how. Not just about users, but different categories or factors to consider within the system. Okay, interviews. So there are a lot of interviews that you could do. And the interview process consists of these 7 steps. Number 1, sino yung i-interviewin? Okay? Pangalawa, ano yung kailangan mong malaman dun sa interview? Pangatlo, ano ba yung mga dapat mong itanong to lead the questions to get the answer? Number 4, prepare for the interview. Hindi naman all the time, lahat ng itatanong mo, maisusulat mo. May mga questions na bigla na magpop up sa utak mo. Then, you need to be able to do it. No? Then, 5, conduct the interview. Siyempre, kailangan kung nag-prepare ka, kailangan ma-schedule mo. And the most common problem is, these clients do not entertain students when they go for interviews because most of the clients that you will be getting have been interviewed by different groups before. So you need to be patient. Especially kung itong mga client na to nakaranas na ng hindi lang isang grupo ang nag-interview kundi napakarami. Pero usually ang promise diyan gagawa ng ganito, gagawa ng ganyan. So pwedeng magkaroon ng problem. Pero kung ikaw ay working naman, there's no problem because you will be working on a project. Kung sakaling trabaho na talaga at hindi ka na estudyante, then definitely they will entertain you. But to be sure that you will be doing this prepared. Number 6 is document the interview. It could be recorded, it could be written. And usually merong mga parang ano diyan, pinapakita yung mga palitan ng sagot. So kapag nire-record nila para makita kung ano yung kung pwedeng reviewin. And then evaluate the interview. So you need to go back or what are those things that has been said about the interview. Okay. Next is document review. Obtain copies of actual forms. So ito yung pinakamahalaga. So bakit? Yung sinasabi nating actual forms dito, ito yung pwedeng resibo, listahan, logbook, mga papel, mga different registration form. Kailangan nyo sila. Kasi dun mo kukuhanin yung information. Ano ba yung nire-record ng company data about the different transactions or functions na ilalagay natin doon sa system. So you need to understand that you need to get these forms. But most of the time, companies are really reluctant unless it is a project that has been proposed by the company. They will immediately give it to you for the purpose na alam nila na gagawan mo sila ng system. No? So ano yung mga form na yan? Registration form, order form, job orders, no? Receiving forms. So, kailangan yung mga yan basta sakop nung transaction mo, kailangan mo siyang kuhain. You could also do observations, no? But you need to time in your observations kung kailan at paano mo siya gagawin. Hindi naman pwedeng, for example, enrollment system yung gagawin mo, tapos nag-observe ka around September or November, which is there's no enrollment happening dun sa kliyente mo. Kung schools man siya. Kasi malamang tapos na yung period ng enrollment noon. So you need to time it well. And then, for observing, sino-sino ba yung dapat mong i-observe? Yung tao ba? Yung guard ba? Yung cashier ba? Sino at saan? So that is really important. Questionnaires and surveys. So you could prepare questionnaires and surveys just to determine the point of view of other people, or you could actually create pre interviews, pre-interviews, or post-interviews. Okay? Pre-questionnaires or post-questionnaires. Ibig sabihin, gusto mo malaman yung current situation, pwede kang magtanong-tanong at mag-survey ngayon. Tapos, pwede mo siyang i-compare sa dulo kung ano yung naging kaibahan. Okay. Then we have sampling, and the samples include records, reports, operational logs, data entry documents, or anything that has information around it that we could use. No? So, pwede nyo gamitin yung mga yan to be able to see ano ba yung mga pwede natin makitang data sa ating system. Okay, so we have here interview versus questionnaires. Ano yung mas magandang gamitin? So the advantage of the interview is you are more familiar and personal kasi direct. React immediately to anything the interviewer says. So immediate kung may post questions ka or follow-up questions, pwede mo agad ibigay. Hindi katulad pag survey, mapapaisip ka pa, bakit kaya ganito yung sinagot nila, ano yung gusto nilang ibig sabihin dito, etc. etc. Watch for the clues to determine if the response are acknowledgeable and unbiased. Ibig sabihin, dapat direct at may integrity yung information na nakukuha mo. Pag sinabi natin may integrity, ibig sabihin, the information is not tampered. There's no malicious intent on any of the information that you're getting. Improve human relations. So, mas magkakaroon ka ng link na sa mga tao pag nakakausap mo sila. Disadvantages of interview. It is costly and time consuming simply because you cannot schedule immediately. So you need to wait. So that waiting time is a problem kasi kuminsan, kung kailan lang sila free, dun lang pwedeng mag-interview. Preparation and follow-up work is required. Yes, definitely. Kasi pag may hindi ka na itanong, babalik ka para magtanong ulit. So in terms of questionnaires, opportunity to provide input and suggestions is given, and the recipient can answer questions at their convenience. Hindi immediate, pero mas madali para sa kanila. Kasi kapag interview, ang problem is, minsan pababalikin ka kasi busy, pero kapag survey, bibigay mo lang, tapos pagbalik mo, pwede mo na makuha. Diba? It allows anonymous responses. So, anyone could actually answer as long as your target is actually involved in the process. Disadvantages of questionnaires. Preparing a good questionnaire requires skill and time. Question can be misinterpreted, and recipients might view them as intrusive, time-consuming, and impersonal. So, yun yung mga problem minsan. Pag kunyari nakikita lang yung questions na hindi naman related sa kanila, sasabihin nila, ano to, bakit tinatanong sa akin to? Tapos, dahil walang expression yung mga questions, minsan yung mga question, iniisip nila, baka mamaya, masyadong personal yung question na hindi niya na dapat sagutin pa. Di ba? Minsan kasi may mga nagda-doubt kapag binibigyan mo sila ng survey eh. Naku, baka malaman ni ganito to. Baka malaman nila na ganito yung comment mo. So, commonly, those are problems that do arise in these types of process of fact finding. No? The need for recording facts. You should document your work according to the following principles. Number one, record information as soon as you obtain it to keep to so that you could have a record. No? Use the simplest recording method possible. Could be recording voices, no? Kasi mahirap na yung magsulat-sulat pa. Video, kung kaya, para immediate. Record yung findings in such a way that they can be understood by someone else. So, ang importante kung medyo may mga bagay na medyo technical, as much as possible, yung mga nire-record mong information is something that other people could see and read and understand. Kasi mas yung reference mo or yung record mo is mas madaling intindihan kaysa dun sa actual. So, minsan kasi medyo technical yung mga taong ini-interview. So, kapag nagre-record ka, pwede mo explain kung ano yung mga nakikita dun sa mga records mo. Organize your documentation so related material is located easily. Okay, so napaka-easy lang naman. You need to record and syempre make use of the material so that they are binded together kung ano man yung dapat na magkakasama. Okay, so we have software tools. So meron tayong case tools, word processing which is yung case tools i-discuss natin yan. Yung word processing which is actually parang mga Microsoft Words kung saan we store this data or this documents, spreadsheets. Isa sa mga pinakamaganda kapag gumagamit tayo ng Excel kasi may mga automatic computations dyan, statistics, etc. And we could use actually databases so that we could easily record information. And sometimes having in databases makes it easier to filter, lalo na kung maramihan yung pinag-uusapan natin. And presentation graphics. So most of the people right now are natawag natin dito visual learners. So when they see things, they can immediately understand through the use of pictures. So mas madali sa iba yung ganong klase ng presentation. Okay. Next is we have UML. So ito yung sa use case natin. So sa UML, meron tayong Unified Modeling Language which is actually used by programmers. Pero this is a way of developing a system to understand how the system should work. Okay? So this is intended to provide a standard way to visualize the design of the system. So very graphical yung dating ng ipapakita natin, and which is the use case diagram. Okay? So a use case diagram is simple but very effective. Okay? So the process involves documenting who initiates an interaction, what information goes into the system, what information comes out, and what is the measurable benefit. Requirements analysis attempts to uncover and document the services and the system provides to the user. So ano ba yung mga meron dito sa use case diagrams? You will be able to understand ano ba yung role ng mga user mo. Ano ba yung mga function na gagampanan nila at ano yung possibly idea mo kung ano yung information na pwedeng pumasok. Now, when we talk about use case diagrams, we're talking about the users most of the time. At meron tayong mga object na ginagamit. Ano-ano yun? We have systems, actors, use cases, and relationships. Now, the colors that I have used does not mean na yun talaga yung representation nila. Ginamit ko lang sila for the presentation para at least ma-differentiate nyo yung mga pwede nyo makita. Dahil, in general, black and white lang yan sa papel. No, may mga linya-linya lang kayo makikita objects. Yung mga objects na yan yun. Okay. So let's start creating a use case diagram. The first one is a rectangle. The rectangle represents the system. So bibigay mo diyan yung pangalan. Like say for example, library system, enrollment system, point of sales, inventory, online ordering, no, etc. etc. Kung ano man yung pangalan ng system, yun yung nilalagay dito sa may taas. Okay? So very simple. The system is the rectangle. It represents anything that is within the system inside that rectangle. Now the next part is the actor. Okay? So yung mga actor natin, tandaan, itong use case diagram, pwede siyang maramihan. Hindi lang requirement na iisang use case lang yung gagawin mo. Okay? So we have two types of actors. The first one, which is on the left, is the primary actor, and the secondary actor is on the right. Ngayon, ina-identify natin sino-sino ba yung mga pwedeng magbigay o mag-initiate ng contact. So siya yung primary, no? Kapag siya yung nag-initiate sa kanya nanggagaling information, siya si primary actor. If there's anyone, or let's say an entity, hindi lang naman kailangan tao eh. Pwedeng entity rin naman yung tinutukoy natin dito. Depende kasi sa gamit yan. So sa representation ng system, pwedeng entity rin naman. Like for example, let's say ICI, o kaya yung school, pwede mong ilagay yung pangalan diyan, that's an entity, no? Pwede mong ilagay diyan, no? So, ang tanong dito, ano-ano yung mga function na pwede niyang gamitin? So, we could identify these people who will be using or interacting with the system. So, we use this stickman figure for these actors to be represented. Then, we'll just label them kung ano yung tawag sa kanila. So, on this sample, we have the customer and the cashier. The next is the use of use cases. So, ang gagawin mo is, gagawa ka ng sphere or oblong, kumbaga, and these spheres will contain functions na ginagawa dun sa system. So, usually may hierarchical order yan kung paano yung pagkakasunod-sunod. So, the first one will be on the upper part, then sunod-sunod sa baba kung ano yung mga pwedeng magawa. Okay? So, use cases are processes that are most of the time placed in order. They are the processes that your system do. Login, payment, assessment, registration, ordering, no? Let's say, ano pa ba? Borrowing, pwede yan, yung mga function na yan. Ano pa ba? Yung time in, kasama yon. Kung payroll siya, so pwede yung isama yung mga functions na yan. So, you put these functions inside the rectangle kasi siya yung function ng system. Kaya siya nasa loob kasi ito yung mga ginagawa niya sa loob. So, makikita natin dito, meron tayong for example, point of sales. So, yun yung system natin. Point of sale system, kung ano man yung kliyente, pwede mong ilagay. Then, maglalagay tayo dito sa baba ng mga functions natin. So, ano yung mga pwedeng function natin? So, magbigay tayo ng example. So, sa isang proseso ng point of sales o yung taong bibili, ano yung mga pwedeng gawin? Pwedeng ipakita yung item, i-check yung item, scan yung item, i-calculate, tapos bayaran. Diba? So, kung enrollment to, registration, assessment, tapos payment. Kung borrowing ng libro yan, presenting of the book, validation of the book, o kaya recording of the book, o tapos sabay release of the book. No? Depende yun. So, kung ito naman ay ordering, order the item, then set the order, total the order, pay the order. O kung meron mong delivery, then deliver the order. So, ang nasa gitna ay yung mga step-by-step procedure or function ng system mo. So, in this case, point of sales yung nilagay natin. So, meron tayong items, check items, scan items, calculate, and then payment. Ngayon, ang problem natin dito, may mga processes na minsan lumalabas kapag ginagawa natin yung mga processes na to o mga sub-functions, sub-processes na lumalabas kapag ginagawa natin ito. Example, si payment, pag nagbayad tayo, pwede tayong mag-check ng total amount kung magkano yung binayad. Pero madalang naman nalalabas na masasabi natin insufficient yung payment. Okay? So, ang tawag natin dun sa immediate reaction na usual na nangyayari, talagang nangyayari, pag nagbayad ka, i-check syempre yung amount. Hindi pa pwedeng hindi. So, ibig sabihin, yung function na to ay nangyayari talaga. Hindi na babaliwala. Pero, yung insufficient payment, hindi siya lagi mangyayari. Kasi mangyayari lang yan, nasasabihin niya kulang yung bayad mo kung na-check niya yung amount tapos hindi sufficient yung nakuha. So usually, ang nilalagay natin to kapag naglalagay tayo ng error. So, ano po ba yung mga pwede nating, let's say, processes na isama sa kanya? Okay, so gawa tayo ng mga sample. Okay, so let's say for example, ang ilagay natin dito is borrow book. So minsan may mga rules sa mga libro na kapag ikaw ay hihiram sa library at maraming kopya, kailangan at least isa maiwan. So ang gagawin niyan, i-check yung book, check niya yung availability. Okay? So kung walang problema, then ipaprocess niya yan. Pero kung meron, magsisend siya ng error na cannot borrow. Pasensya na doon sa sulat ko. Mahirap magsulat sa mouse. Okay? So, ibig sabihin ngayon, if I want to borrow the book will be checked for the availability. Kasi nga, ang sabi ko sa inyo kanina, may ruling. Ang ruling, hindi ako pwedeng maglabas ng lahat ng kopya ng libro. Dapat lagi may naiiwang isa para may nababasa doon sa library. So kapag isa na lang, hindi niya i-allow, pwede siyang mag-send ng error na cannot borrow the book. Pero kapag available, then pa-process lang yung borrowing. No? So, ang tawag natin dyan sa mga yan ay etong automatic na nagre-reply kasi kasama siya sa function, tinatawag natin siyang include use case. Ito yung base use case natin, yung mga original. Then, ito yung include use case natin na talagang nag-a-appear immediately. At meron din naman tayong extend use case na lumalabas kung nakakakita lang ng error or this is an optional reaction. So, may certain condition kung kailan siya lang lalabas. No? So, if that would be the case at nagawa mo na yung layout mo ng use case, tandaan, hindi lang isa yung pwede mong gawin, pwedeng marami. Ang gagawin mo, ili-layout mo lang kung sino yung mga gumagawa ng function na to. So, si customer yung nagpe-present ng items at nagbibigay ng bayad. Pero si cashier yung nag-check ng item, nag-i-scan, tapos nagka-calculate ng total. So, ilalagay mo lang kung ano yung mga function niya. Okay? So you need to just identify who are the people who are doing the interaction and who are the ones replying with that. So tandaan po, kapag nire-represent natin yung include, naglalagay tayo ng broken line at yung tsaka yung extended natin, include use case tsaka extend use case. So ang gagawin natin, lalagyan lang natin ng label yung linya. So nire-represent siya ng broken line with an arrowhead. Tapos, kailangan yung include nakadirect sa kanya mula sa may base use case natin. At ang nagre-reply na para bang nag-aaraw pabalik ay yung extended natin kasi optional lang siya. Okay? Now remember, this is just one representation. And kung maraming function ang isang system at meron siyang mga multiple transactions na nagre-require ng maraming interaction, pwedeng multiple use cases yung gamitin. Like for example, may use case para sa pagbili ng item, may use case para mag-order ng item mula sa supplier, at may use case din naman tayo para sa pagbabalik ng item ng customer kung sakaling nakita niyang ito ay expired o may sira. So pwedeng madaming use cases yung gamitin. Pero ito in general lang, no? So usually in general representation, ang ginagawa natin parang ano lang yung mga major functions na ginagawa doon sa system, yun lang yung nilalagay. Pero hindi natin inaalis yung possibility na marami kang use case na gagamitin. Okay? So, in return, there can be multiple use cases presented in a system, and by the use of this, you could determine ano-ano yung function na kayang gawin ng customer or ano-ano rin naman yung mga function na gagawin ng system mo. So, kung titingnan ko yung slides natin kanina, base din sa analysis namin, may function kami ng present item. Ang unang tanong dyan, kaya ba namin i-computerize to? Hindi to kasama. Magpe-present siya ng item pero wala namang function na nagpe-present ng item doon sa system kasi manual yun. So, hindi ko to isasama na function. Check item. Yung check item manual rin ginagawa ng user. Pero, hindi naman siya pwedeng isama sa system. Okay? Then gawin natin yung scan. Okay, yung scan pwede kasi magse-search ng item dun sa system natin yan para malaman yung presyo. So kasama yung scan item natin sa function. So ibig sabihin, we could identify them. Now, this use case is based on the process of the company manually, no? Kasi kung ang mangyayari is i-base natin sa computerized na use case, then iba na yung mga makikita natin dito. Iba na yung mga functions. Ang isusulat mo rito, function na nung actual na computerized system. Now, this is a representation of the manual process. Okay? So, by the use of this, you could actually determine ano-ano ba yung mga function na ilalagay natin dun sa ating pinaka-system. Okay, so delete ko po ito. Yan. So I think that's it. That's the end of our slide for today. So I hope that you will be able, or this will be helpful for you guys. So if you do have questions, just comment on the comment section below. Tapos subscribe na rin, and kung gusto niyo i-share, wala rin namang problema. Again, this is Sir Arca, and thank you very much.